guys like yourselves and just in general that like we've been able to associate with. So like it's that type of community and like family vibe like is really like potent. Mm-hmm. Like every time I walk into a store and like some of our like staff is hanging out with their friends or different people are hanging out in the backyard, like you see, like you really see that at our stores, whether you're in Tokyo or Bondi or Crosby Street, like you see that sense of community of people like embracing the environment like as their own, which like makes me really, really stoked and really happy. So I think that's like sort of like a feeling and a vibe that is just like that exists that like maybe customers and people can kind of sense. And then from an experience point of view, like Saturday's so many things, like we want it to be. Like we want it to embrace surfing and surf culture and fashion and style and apparel, and then coffee and that whole experience and how like it's a lot of things, you know what I mean? And trying to focus on each one. And so whether it's like expanding the cafe element to like have a larger offering, which is like what we're doing now because we're renovating for 10 year. We're renovating our Crosby Street shop for the first time in 10 years, which is going to be super cool. So we like got the space next door. We're in full renovation mode and hopefully should open at the end of November, beginning of December. But that's going to be like, it's going to be the same vibe in store, but just like kind of this like 2.0 sort of thing, the next level. Yeah. And so, you know, we want to give people more reasons to come and enjoy the space, whether it's, you know, more options and things to offer in the cafe point of view. We're like building out more seating and more like reasons for people to stay and just like embrace that cafe part, or really focusing on like the product when it comes to like surfing and like the boards and shapers we carry to like the wetsuits and all that kind of stuff, just trying to look at it from our own perspective, and then like going into each collection we make, the collaborations that we do, the people we partner with, and then also in store events we've done, you know, we've had a lot of cool things with Surf Rider in the backyard, with Tin for like, you know, pizza.
Yeah, Tom Curran play in your back.
Tom Curran play. No,
I mean
like
much better than that.
That's what's really cool is also like the space itself has been used for such rad moments over the years. Like I wish I had like a list, but it's been super cool.
I think that's the happy story of brick and mortar retail now, is if you have a good concept and a community. It in many ways are sort of a community that was there that you tapped into and expanded, that you're like, we're going to make this a home. You mentioned earlier about like, oh, sometimes stores are thought of as museums or something like that, or like the old school surf shop where you got vibed out and you're like, do I really want to be in here? Am I going to get mugged? and like, so the happy model is like you bring people in, you have events that isn't always just driven to sale. Yeah. The sales occur organically.
Yeah.
And that seems to be a really wonderful thing. But not you see when other brands try to do this and it doesn't work out because it's either not native to them or something like that. But
it's forced.
And that you can sort of smell that a little bit. It has to feel genuine.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you know, again, I'm like a bad person to ask because like I'm not like I'm not like a huge consumer. You know, I've always been like dedicated to like one brand. Like when I was like a young, like when I was a Grom, like Ruka gave me close. I only wore Ruka, and like Pat and everyone like grew up with them, and they're like super rad. And then like when I worked at Acne, I only wore Acne like head to toe. And then when we started Saturdays, it's like when we finally started making clothes, like I only wore Saturdays, and you know what I mean, like that's kind of where I've lived. And
what about? Sorry, interrupt. I don't want to lose Acne because my wife is like loves Acne very, very much, and she's she buys most of her clothes at Beacon's Closet and other vintage places. But we went to a wedding in Stockholm, and it was like she carved out like the afternoon to be like, we're going, or you're dropping me off at the Acne store. She like came out with a pair of boots, which she literally didn't take off for a few months. But like amazing fashion house. That clearly was like a template, right, or inspiration for you.
100%. I mean, like my journey went from like Southern California my whole life up and through graduating college, and then like right before right before I graduated college, I moved to Europe and lived in Florence for a while. And all my friends were Swedish, and I was like, "You guys are fucking cool. You stay like we're living in Florence like this." Yeah, it was just like I'm gonna hang with you guys. And then moved back to Southern California. Went to Stockholm a few times to visit them, and like had an amazing time. And kind of just got enamored with like Swedish style and fashion at the time, and so basically moved to New York to work for. I mean, initially I was working for J. Lindeberg, and then when I moved to New York to work for J. Lindeberg, and then I was someone called me and was like, "Hey, this brand Acne wants to hire someone." So I went to interviewed my friend Louise, who's not like now has been one of my closest friends forever. And started working at Acne for 2 years, and that was a huge learning experience for me, and like I learned a lot from like going back and forth from Stockholm to New York and living in New York and managing that brand, and that brand since that was 2007. So they've done so much, and we're all like I'm still super close friends with them. I'm actually going to Stockholm tomorrow to go like spend time with them and hang out with them, and what's really cool about people can have different opinion. Like, what's really cool about this is like Johnny from Acne. When I left to start Saturdays, everyone was like, "Yeah, good luck." I'm like, "That's kind of trippy." And then like, it took Johnny surfing a couple of times. He started to become like really enamored and interested in surfing, and it like changed his whole life. Like, we have an interview of him in Saturday's magazine. He's become this like huge collector of like surfboards and surf paraphernalia. He's had like he's now like super close buddies with like Alex Knost and Robbie Keegle and like kids I grew up with, and they've been in his like Acne campaigns and all that kind of stuff. And now Johnny's like has this like really amazing project where I'm going to check it out. That's part of the reason to go. Like he's like shaping boards and making wetsuits like in Stockholm, and again like it's just because he's so stoked and so passionate about surfing. It literally like his kids. There's like Swedish surf contest and his kids surf in Sweden.
Baltic surf.
It's pretty crazy. Yeah. So it's really rad to see like that part of my professional career kind of come full circle, and like everyone's still super close and stuff like that. But Acne was a really that was a really rad time for me because that helps. Like I mean I was like working in wholesale and sales, so that's like what I learned about that, and then I was like just involved in this really artistically driven company that was pretty insane, and they're still doing amazing stuff. So,
what did you study in school?
I studied business. I mean, and the only reason because I literally had no idea what I wanted to do. Like as
it's the default.
It is. I mean, like as a kid, like all we wanted to do is be a pro surfer or a pro snowboarder or a pro skateboarder, and like skating was easily not going to happen. And then, like we snowboarded like crazy, and like that was our that was our sport. And when it came to that and surfing, and when it came to when we turned 18, like a lot of our friends like moved to Oregon and just like focused and became professional snowboarders and wanted to do that. And a lot of other friends became pro surfers, and we like went to college. And I was like, I don't know. Like, I was like business, and if I could go back, I mean, again, like. You could say it helped me with what we've done with Saturdays, but like I don't really know. Like if I'm being completely honest, it was like it was a great education, a good like baseline that just like is there.
But none of you three had like straight like Parsons quote like textile, clothing, fashion training.
No, none of that. We didn't have that, but we were able to like partner with some of our friends who are really talented, whether it was in design or production or design and production, and kind of like the idea of the store in general. That's kind of how like that worked out. Is it all kind of like everything happened by like opportunities. So like a buyer from Japan came in the store and asked if we had T-shirts, and I was like, yep. And so then Colin and I went home, and Colin's a really talented graphic designer, so I was like, this is what a line sheet looks like, and we can reverse engineer pricing, and he designed like 10, 12 T-shirts. We sent them PDF, and they placed an order, and like had to call my brother in California. I'm like, do you know how to make T-shirts? He was working at Smith at the time as the TM, so I was like, and so that's how we learned how to make T-shirts. And then the same with like collection. Like Bloomingdale's came in and was like, hey, like, are you guys like do you guys have a clothing collection? And we were like, what? Well, we're designing one. And we like
Racing back.
started working with a friend, and we designed like the first capsule collection in 2010. So it's kind of like this organic process, and like in general, we were able to work with some really talented people, and that helped kind of like bring things to fruition. And now it's
The t-shirt was like the beginning.
the first product we made.
Iconic. You know,
Yeah.
it's just a stripe, and all of a sudden,
Yeah.
like,
No,
holy
I mean,
shit.
those
Off to
old
the
school
races.
styles, some of them are still in the line today, which is pretty trippy. Yeah.
Now, how did the trio get together? How did you, Colin, and Josh, like, where did you all meet, and like how did this whole everything germinate? Were you guys?
Yeah. So Josh is from the Pacific Northwest and was living in New York.
And he's like a former pro snowboarder.
Yeah, he's a big pro snowboarder.
Holy crap! Like I saw some of the footage he's posted.
He's really good. He still pushes it. He's crazy. So I met Josh. It's actually a pretty crazy story. So I met Josh because I was working at J. Lindenberg in Los Angeles, and we met at a trade. And he was working at J. Lindenberg in New York. So we met at a trade show in Las Vegas, and we like got along super well. We're homies. And then I was calling him, being like, "Dude, I can't live in California anymore. I need to move to New York." And he helped me get a job in the office in New York. And he's like, "Well, there's a receptionist job." I'm like, "I'll take it." Put in a good word with the CEO, and like I got the job, moved to New York, worked there for 2 weeks, and then interviewed for the job at Acne. Quit, moved, started working at Acne. So, but that's how I met Josh. Wow. That's how that whole thing went down. So Josh was the first friend, and we met Colin through a mutual friend of mine, and Colin was living in California at the time. He met a friend of mine, Mike Townsend, who I grew up with, who used to sponsor my brother and I when we were little kids. And then Colin and Mike moved back to New York. We met Colin through Mike, and that's how we all kind of became friends. And then we're friends for a few years. Surfing, skating, snowboarding, just like the gamut of living in New York, kind of being crazy. And the whole concept really came about like very organically, just through our like friendship and interests. And we just kind of like, it just like happened. It was like pretty crazy. It just like happened, and there wasn't really a lot of time to think about it. So it was kind of like shit or get off the pot, especially like came up with the idea, came up with the name really quickly, like came up with the general like concept. And then a few weeks later, a friend of ours worked at this art gallery that used to be on 31 Crosby, which what used to be called, it was a Dan Eldon gallery that David Decker.
Oh, the Dan Eldon.
The Dan Eldon gallery.
Journey is a Destination.
Yeah. So it was an amazing gallery, and he at the time he's like, I need, our friend Errol worked at the store, and he was like, I'll move upstate, so I'll help you guys get the lease, but you have like a week to decide, or I have to get rid of it. And so I got like a phone call at Acne one day from him or someone. They're like, "Listen, you got to make a decision." And so I was like, "Excuse me," and I called Colin, like, "Are we doing this?" Colin and Josh, and they're like, "Yeah, let's do it." I'm like, "All right, we're in." We signed the lease. It was trippy. So I mean, like again, like there wasn't any time to think or come up with a business plan, so it almost helped us. Like if we thought about it too much, we probably would have talked ourselves out of it, kind of thing.
How was the working relationship between you two? How did you balance it? Like 3 people, in one way it's great because you have a tiebreaker always.
Yeah.
But I can imagine like 3 owners too can be very difficult making decisions. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, at the time it worked really well.
Yeah.
Like having three of us, it was in essence always a tiebreaker, but in general, like everyone kind of like without handing out roles and responsibilities, everybody had something to like bring to the table, whether it was like I handed like Josh and I did like sales, and I handled like accounting and like that type of it. Colin was handling the design, and we all kind of participated in working in the store and being baristas and bringing people in and PR, communication, all this kind of stuff. So it was like everyone kind of had their roles, but then participated in everything, and it was just like it just needs to get done. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter like who does it, so it kind of like it worked out.
Do you think was easier when you were smaller than now in some ways? Like, did it, as you grew, obviously the roles and the relationships, everything becomes more defined?
I think I mean, things have changed. Like, so, you know, Josh has moved on. He lives back in Seattle and
cashed out and just living the life.
He's having a, you know, I miss Josh all the time. He's